Hello, and welcome to another edition of Lucian Sets. That's me. It's been a while since I have set a new puzzle, and actually this puzzle is old per se. This is from 3 weeks ago, and I've been meaning to make a solve on it, but one thing after the other, I had I did some stuff with Fonk. There's actually a Paradoku that still hasn't even come out yet, and that's another story. Um, we had the gas leak. It's been busy. So here we are getting this solve out to you all. The puzzle is called Pencil Mar King Knight Mare by me. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Every digit follows either anti-knight or anti-king rules, but not both. Okay? Anti-knight, certain digits to be determined by the solver in cells separated by a knight's move, as in chess, cannot be the same digit. Then we have our anti-king, certain digits to be determined by the solver in cells separated by a king's move, as in chess, cannot be the same digit. And then we have fog of war. So correctly placed digits will clear fog from adjacent cells. These rules I didn't seem to have much problem in testing, but I did afterwards, after I posted it on YouTube, that I said, hey, I set this puzzle. I did get some feedback that the rules were a little bit confusing. If you felt that way, I apologize. I didn't get that feedback in testing, and I would have been, I guess, more diligent about making sure that the rules were clearer. But the simple rule that to work with here is, of course, our normal Sudoku rules, right? Any row, column, or 3x3 box will contain the digits 1 to 9 once each. And also we have our fog of war rules. So before we go over all that anti-knight, anti-king stuff, we'll talk about the fog of war. So if we place a digit that is correct, in this case, let's say 0. We know 0 isn't going to be correct, but let's say it was. Then it would clear all of the fog from these cells. And the fog, as you can kind of see, we get this kind of like grayish thing that is sitting over the puzzle. And as we place correct digits, the fog will clear and reveal more of the puzzle to us. The way that we figure out where our digits go is by using this idea of anti-knight versus anti-king. So before we do any of that, we'll talk about what anti-knight and anti-king actually are. If this digit were a knight, as in chess, then it would be able to move to these 8 cells here. And that is because a knight in chess moves 2 cells in one direction and 1 cell in the perpendicular direction. And if you do all the possible combinations of 2 cells then 1, 2 cells then 1, you will get these 8 cells here. In Sudoku, again, normally you have these cells, row, column, and box, but these extra 8 cells can be super helpful in these anti-knight Sudokus. So, for example, we need to figure out which digits, right? Because every digit follows either anti-knight or anti-king rules. So there will be digits in the grid that will follow, like 1 will follow anti-knight rules or will follow anti-king rules. So if 1 is anti-knight, then it is anti-knight. It is an anti-knight digit. If it was anti-king, then it would be an anti-king digit. I guess now I should go back to what is anti-king. If this was a king, and even better, we'll just use the 1 here. If this was a king in chess, then it would be able to move to any of these cells, any of the adjacent cells. So just like when we were clearing fog, right? Anything, if this was clearing fog, then it would clear all of these cells here. So if we look at Sudoku, right, row, column, and box, this cell also additionally sees these 2 cells. Anti-king is a little less powerful than our anti-knight rules, just because you're only ever going to see at most 3 cells, right? If we're looking on the corner, right, these would be the 3 cells if this was our king that we were looking at. But otherwise, the anti-knight will see up to 8 other cells. So a little less restrictive, but any digit that we find to be anti-king will forever and always be anti-king, and there will be an anti-knight restriction to it. So, for example, if I find out that 0, if I find out that 0 is an anti-king digit, then that means somewhere in the grid I need to see another 0 by anti-knight's move. And if I find out, for example, that 0 is anti-king, or anti-knight, sorry, anti-knight, then somewhere in the grid there must be an anti-king restriction on that 0. Theoretically, that shouldn't come into play. Like, you shouldn't need to use that as some sort of like negative constraint. But maybe it's possible to use that. If you do use that and you're watching this now, then it would be interesting to hear when and where you actually applied that logic to find a digit. But yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. It's a little bit it's there's a lot going on there, but once you break it down, it's pretty straightforward and you should be able to solve this puzzle. So please go give it a try. Otherwise, those are the rules. Let's just jump right into it. Okay. So, Fog of War is here to try to direct your focus. So, right away, there are three digits that you should be looking at. Those are the ones, the sevens, and the eights. Um, if we just start, with the eights, for example, we'll see that eights don't really do it for us, right? 8 by anti-knight would restrict that, but really we just know that 8 goes on the bottom, and we just know that by Sudoku. Can you do anything with sevens, really? Hmm, maybe something going on over here. So let's start pencil marking. So which if you didn't get the name of the puzzle, it's kind of a little bit of a hint. You do want to be pencil marking for this one. So if 7 was anti-knight, where would 7 be looking? Well, 7 would see these cells by Sudoku. That's easy. It would see these two cells by anti-knight, and then this 7 would see this by anti-knight. So we have 7. Then we can say to ourselves, all right, where do we go from there? Well, 7, all right, by anti-king must go here. We'll actually corner mark that, or center mark that, other way around. So no matter what, if 7 is anti-knight or anti-king, then it must go here. And that'll give us one of our first digits. You also, I'm going to actually, we'll jump back from 7 to 1 real quick, because, right, this is just Sudoku. 7 goes in one of these two cells, 7 goes here. This must be 7 by Sudoku. Before we even do that, we will place another digit because the next digit that we place here is kind of required. Because if you try to look at 7 right now, 7 can go in some cells, right? We have some options. So this is where we might want to jump back to 1. If you started with 1, then good for you. You picked the right starting place. Kind of why it's in the left here. I have 3 of them, right? They're all kind of near the same box. But, this is giving you an idea of how you're going to want to approach this puzzle. Well, 1, if we do the same thing, if 1 is anti-knight, where does 1 go in this box? Well, by Sudoku, it's restricted there. Or I guess that's even better, isn't it? Because we placed the 7. I guess I'm so used to doing this from the other perspective where we don't start with 7s, we start with 1s, that you actually just, uh, we'll go through that logic actually. So I'm a little discombobulated, I guess you could say. If you treated 1 as anti-knight, 1 would have to go here. If you treated 1 as anti-king, the Sudoku would break because this 1 sees all 3 of these cells. So actually, right away, you get a digit 1 here. But what we've also seen is you could start with 7s, get 7 here, and then look at 1s and say, just by Sudoku, 1 goes here. And what that tells you is, even if you didn't do the work to figure out that 1 had to be anti-knight, you can take that perspective and say, okay, well, now, given that 1 sees itself by anti-king move, 1 must be an anti-knight digit. So we will use our yellows for our anti-knight. So 1 by anti-knight can do some stuff for us. We can continue with our ones, you can continue with your sevens. Depending on what you choose, it'll leave you in different directions. As you saw, right? We started with seven and we were able to get one just by Sudoku and not even have to do that extra work to disprove anti-king because we just get it by anti-king. But what we can do is we can continue with ones or sevens. Let's continue with ones. So ones get placed here. Generally, in a Sudoku, that's it. You're done. But because we know 1 follows the anti-knight rules, we can do something more with that. So if this was a 1, we can just play a game, right? If this was a 1, what would it do to ones in this box? Well, this type of pattern in an anti-knight Sudoku has a special property, I guess you could call it, where these two ones, no matter what, if this was 1, then it would see this cell by Sudoku and this cell by anti-knights. And if this was the 1, then it would see this cell by Sudoku and this cell by anti-knight. You'll notice that I've pencil marked the same digits. Well, that's because when you get a pair like this, it always restricts the opposite pair here, right? That are a knight's move apart, right? That little L shape that you make. So, just from this pencil marking, we can restrict 1 to the bottom of this box, box 9. If we then take that pencil marking, we realize that it's a pointing set. You can place 1, not in color mode, but in number mode. You can place 1 there. So that is a new anti-knight, and this can't be 1. If we take the 1, we look up. Does it do anything? Not really, but we can pencil mark it. Does 1 do anything? Well, this 1 does see these two cells, right? We just learned that. These two 1s see these two cells. These two 1s sees these two cells. So we'll get like a set of 1s here, but it doesn't go much farther than that. I don't think you can go much farther than that, but if you can, let me know. It's always interesting to see new ways to approach the puzzle, right? What I want to do though is I want to go back to sevens, right? So maybe you continued with the sevens after you found that 1 there, because if you did, you'd find something interesting. So where does 7 go in this box? Well, not even considering anti-king or anti-knight, just basic Sudoku, just simple Sudoku, 7 goes in one of these two cells. Well, once again, just like we've seen many times, these types of restrictions will give us where digits must go. Well, now you might see the problem and how this puzzle will continue to play out. If 7 went here, it would see this by anti-king's move. And if 7 went here, it would see it by anti-king's move, right? Another way to say that is if this 7 if 7 was a king's move digit, it would always see these cells and there would be nowhere to place 7 in this box, right? Box 1 would have no place for 7. What that means is that 7 must be anti-knight move. If 7 is anti-knight move, then we know 7 goes here. 7 by anti-knight goes here. If we continue along that path, right, where does 7 go in this box? Well, we know 7 goes here. We already did that. This was the 7 king's move. This was the 7 and knight's move. 7 now only has 1 space to go here, and 7 has only 1 space to go here. So we have just done every single 7 in the grid. So kind of crazy there, right? We've placed 9 sevens, which are all anti-knight digits. It's a lot. It's a lot of digits, but it opens up the board. What can we now do with this lovely board that we've opened up? A few different things. So we could look at what I generally do in the Sudokus, right? When I'm struggling, I'll go 1 and then I'll just go 2 next, and then I'll go 3, 4, right? If you look at 2s, you'll actually get something, right? If 2 was anti-knight, what would happen? Well, 2 would see all of these cells. It would see these cells. It would see this, and by knight's move, this would see this. So, if 2 by knight's move leaves no possibilities in box 2 for the 2, then 2 must be what? It must be anti-king. And what you get is you get 2 in box 2, in index 2, in cell 2. And there you go. Your 2s are now anti-king digits. So that means anywhere, and you already see we have an anti-knight constraint, so we're all good, right? We're set. 2 has met its purpose. So these become 2, and they are anti-king's moves. Actually, we should not use the dark blue. We should use the light sky blue that I like to use. So, so, 2, keep going. 2, anti-king, gives us 2 here, which we don't get a reveal, but I promise you that is the correct digit there. And then if we continue through, if I remember, there shouldn't be anything else, but maybe you'll notice something with 2 here, and you might also notice something with 3, right? If you looked at 3 next, remember the pattern, right? We don't see anything with 2. Let's look at 3s, right? We'll notice that there's a 2, 3 staring in this direction. There's a 2, 3 staring in this direction, which gives us a 2, 3 here. Is that useful just this second? No, but it will definitely come into play later. So now, 3 by Sudoku will go in one of these 2 cells. So we'll just place the 3s there. It's pretty straightforward. And we'll actually, sorry, we'll do corner marking on that one, not center marking. And we don't know whether 3 is anti-king or anti-knight yet, but we don't know that 3 will go in one of these 2 cells. If it was anti-knight, right? If 3 was anti-knight, which would make sense because it would break here, right? If it went here, that wouldn't work, right? 3 by anti-knight would break, so this would have to be 3, and this would have to be 3 by anti-knight. By anti-king move, this couldn't be 3, this would have to be 3, and then this would be 3. So we have like a kind of I don't know what these are called. I've seen them many times, but it's kind of like an offsides X-wing. If you have the name for that, please tell me. So you have this kind of like offsides X-wing. It's not a Y-wing. I don't know. A Y-wing is a completely different thing. But yes, anyway, so you'll see you'll either get the digits like this or like this. Well, 3 like this would give us 3 there, and 3 like this would give us 3 here. Does that really help us? Not yet, but maybe it'll do something later down the line. And again, we just keep playing with digits. Just keep kind of looking, does 3 have any interesting restrictions on it? Not seemingly so. Does 4? All right, let's look at 4s. 4 doesn't seem to do much, not yet at least. 5s, all right. Well, we have a couple 5s staring at this box here. Does that do anything? Well, 5. Well, if 5 is anti-knight, then 5 would see this cell and 5 would see this cell. So once again, we have a restriction in box 5 for the digit 5, not being allowed to be anti-knight. So 5 must then be anti-king, using the wrong blue for some reason. And we'll know that 5 goes in one of these 2 cells. And actually, I am remembering that we can do something with the 4s. If we were to look here and we were to say, where does 4 go in this box, right? Looking at the 2 boxes the 4 restricts, right? 4 in this box, again, why we're pencil marking, why we should always be pencil marking, is that 4 going in these 2 cells, once again, forms a nice little pair and places 4 there. I almost forgot that, but then I remembered it after I started doing the work for the 5. And again, we just keep doing that. Just keep looking for those interesting restrictions. Excuse me. Yeah, we could do some more work actually with 4s. 4 by just Sudoku, I guess, goes here. Actually, we'll take it further, right? If it's a king's move, if 4 is king's move, then 4 goes in one of these 2 cells, and then down here, in box 8, 4 being king's move means 4 goes in one of these two cells. Now, 4 by knight's move is also interesting. 4 by knight's move, this 4 sees this, but also it sees these two cells, which means these two cells would be our knight's move 4, and 4 existing somewhere here and here tells us that this would be 4 by knight's move. So 4 going here by knight's move means these, right, either knight's move or king's move, I should say, tells us that 4 goes somewhere in these two cells. I don't know which one yet, and I'll do both the pencil marking, the center and the corner. It can be a little bit confusing, but I'm sure you'll come up with your own system when you're solving this. Now, 4 then goes in these two cells. So if 4 was anti-knight, this cell sees both of these by anti-knight's move, which would mean that this would be 4 and this would be 4. And I think you'll see a problem with that if we look at Sudoku. So what that tells us is, right, if neither of these would be allowed to be 4, and both of these would have to be 4 if 4 was anti-knight, which means that 4 is in fact anti-king. Not super helpful yet, but as we go through this, maybe it will come in handy later. And we'll go back, and instead of all these center marks that I have of 4s, and I'll actually remove all my 4 corner marks because I'll just redo these. All of these, since we know that 4, right, we've discovered it does have to be anti-king, we can just really quickly go through and pencil mark these a little bit more professionally, a little bit nicer. And even better, 4 being anti-king tells us that 4 goes in the corner here. And it clears the fog, so we're happy. We know we're good. And that gives us 4 here. That tells us that 4 goes here. Again, right, once you get a digit, it'll start to propagate throughout the grid. So we get the 4 there. That gives us the 4 there. It doesn't yet give us our 4s here, which I forgot to pencil mark here. But, we're slowly but surely working through the digits. And we didn't have any anti-king digits problems before, but now here you go. Here's our anti-king restriction, or anti-knight restriction, sorry. So now 4 is following the rule that it has to be either anti-knight or anti-king, but not both. So this, which I've realized once again, I've used the dark blue. I don't know why I keep doing that. It is an anti-king. And actually, we need to reselect all 4s. I'm sorry, I'm being so difficult. But anyways, 4. Now, how do we continue with this? Well, I guess there's a few ways. This is, I guess, one of the things that I'm trying to work on is just kind of directing down that single path, right? You could look at this column here, you could look at the box, you could look at this row. All of those are kind of the direction that I wanted you to go in, but there are certainly ways. Maybe if you look across here, I haven't done the work, but maybe there's a way to kind of get some digits working across here. Sorry, let's actually remove that 4. Um, it's possible. It's very much possible. I don't know. Because again, when you have a certain solve path in mind, there's a way that you want the solver to approach it, but I don't yet really have the skills to kind of force that path on you. So what I would hope for at least is, given you have a lot of work done here, because theoretically you've done at least the 4s, and maybe your attention has come down here, right? If you look at what we're actually missing from this column here, we are missing digits 5 and 9. Well, doesn't really do much for us just yet. However, 5 being anti-king does something key. If we look across this row, we're missing what? 5, 6, 9. Excuse me, 5, 6, 9. 5 sees this cell by anti-king. So where does 5 go in this row? 5 can only go here. And 5 going in either of these cells means that this can no longer be 5, which means it is 9. 9 does give us a 5, 6 pair, which we can't do anything with just yet. Sorry, we can. We can't do anything over here with it, but we can use it to get us the 9 here, right? Just Sudoku. And 9 actually by Sudoku, if you notice, plays with the 9 here. And what we'll see very quickly is that 9 can't be anti-king or anti-knight, because if 9 is anti-knight, then it would see, right, these cells by Sudoku, but also this cell by knight's move and this cell by knight's move, which means that 9 is another anti-king digit. A lot of anti-king here, but this is 5. If we continue through, 5 by anti-king places 5 here. If you did the work for the 3, maybe you didn't, maybe you did, but 5 being, and here you go, you can see our knight's constraint coming into play. 5 being our anti-king, forces 3 here now. 3 here, now can't be anti-knight, so it must be anti-king. And you can see a whole mess of 3 restrictions. That makes this 9. 3 goes here. And we'll just continue. So let's focus on 3s just to make sure we get all the 3s. Can we do anything else with 3s? Not yet. So these will be our 3s, which we will color code as blue because we know that these are anti-king. We know that the 9 is also anti-king. One thing that you could have done probably a lot sooner once we place the 7 by Sudoku that I'm just remembering now is the 6. Not helpful just yet, but it does give us a little bit of an idea of what's going on here. We still need to place what? 8, 9. So this is 9. This is 8. 8. This is 5. 5, 6. And you can see we're getting there. We're getting there. We are missing what? 8 still. 8 now must be anti-king. Right? Must be anti-king because it sees itself by anti-knight. 9, sorry, we know is anti-king. And what are we missing from the column here? Sorry. We are missing 6. So this is 6. Still don't know what 6s are. Actually, I guess 6 is the only digit that we don't know if it's anti-king or anti-knight yet. 6, 2, 3 leaves us with 1, 5. 5 actually gives us the order. This is 1. This is 5. 1 gives us 1, which tells us that these are not 1s, which means we get this kind of 1 X-wing here. Not this kind of. It is just a 1 X-wing. Then, what else can we do? 4, 4, 6, and 2. So 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6. 2, 6 gives us 4. 4, 4. Get a 2, 6 pair. 2, 6 pair. What are we missing here? We're missing, sorry, 4. Let's get our, actually, are we done with 4s? It looks like we're done with 4s. So 4s are done. 5, we can do 5 here. We cannot do 5s here yet. So we're still left with that little X-wing of 5s. But maybe that 6 will come in handy soon. 5, go here. Then, sorry, what I was doing here was looking at our remaining digits. It's always useful, right? What are we missing? So we're missing 2 again, as well as 289. 289, where this can't be 8. And it can't be 2. There we go. 9. 9 leaves with 2, 8. 2, 8 places what? Places 2 here, 6 here. 2, we know, is an anti-king digit, so this must be 2, this must be 8. And again, we're just kind of filling out that grid here. 2, 8, 9. 6 is still being elusive, right? 6 is still being elusive. We don't know what's happening with it yet, but we do get what? What is it? 1 and 3. So we get a 1, 3 pair very nicely. From the column, we still need to place what? Sorry, I'm doing it again. 9, 9. Let's see if we can actually finish our 9s off. 9, not quite yet. Another one of our elusive digits here. 9. The 1, 3 does do something special, though. It gives us 6, 8. And why is 6, 8 special? Well, since we know that 8 is an anti-king digit, if 8 went here, it would tell us that there is nowhere for 8 to go in this box, which means that this must be 8, this must be 6, so still 6 being elusive. 8 we know is going to be blue, that's for sure. 8, what are we missing across here? 9 and 6. No, not 9 and 6, sorry. Whoa, wait, what have I done? 9 and... No, that's fine, sorry. Sorry, 9 and 6. So this is 9. I'm fine. This is 9, this is 6. I thought I broke something. 9. 9. Yeah, we already had a knight's move. I was just trying to see if we hadn't done that yet. But 6 now does finally give us 5 here, 6 here. We do see that 6 is now broken by anti-knight after all of this, right? The anti-king really didn't help. This is just kind of Sudoku, but it does define that this is an anti-king digit because it sees itself by anti-knight. 5 we should be able to place here. 5, we're still missing 8. Here we're still missing what? 9 and 2. We don't know the order. 2, 9, not from what I can tell at least. 8 and 5 are blue. 5s are done. Our 8's done. Not quite yet. 8, sorry, of course. I did the work to say 8 can't go here, but the second I place 8 here, also places 8 here. That places 8 here. So I think now we are done with 8s. And we are coming up on the close. This is 1, this is 1, this is 3, right? 1s, we know are anti-knight, and we are fully done with the 1s. Across here, we're missing 3. 3, sorry, anti-king. So let's do the color coding. Here, we are missing what? We're missing 9. 9 gives us 2, 2, 9. 2 gives us 2 here. And we'll finish off our color coding. Finally, to finish off the puzzle, we get a 3 in the corner in 26 minutes and 58 seconds. So I say not that the actual timing matters on here, but yeah, that was in fact I don't know why I liked my own puzzle. I guess it's just sorry, it's just a habit. Pencil marking nightmare. So it's kind of a crazy one. I spent probably more time than I should have trying to set this puzzle. I will tell you that originally there was not a 3 in the corner here, but I switched some digits around to do kind of the work that I wanted to. Like this 2 here was not in fact accidental. I took a different digit that was originally there in the puzzle and replaced it with the 2. Hopefully that doesn't take the mystery out of it, but you know, those are the types of little things that the little touches that I decided to add, and realizing that this kind of all finished off in this corner, solving in my specific path, right? Following along the way that I was kind of hoping you would end up with one of your final digits, if not the last digit here in this case, one of your final digits being this lovely 3 in the corner. With all of that, I've been I've been busy, so I haven't been looking at setting any new puzzles recently. However, there are some ideas that I have. I just need to sit down and actually go through them. hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, let me know. It's good to get some feedback. If maybe you were one of those people that found the rules confusing, right? That's the type of feedback that I need to hear to make sure that whenever I do this again, that you all are very satisfied. But anyways, as I say, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.